Hey there, my name is Anthony Romano, and the title of this video is Keto Will Reset Your Bodybuilding Potential. And, it's a little bit of background here. I've been doing the ketogenic diet for 7 years now. I've been bodybuilding for all that time, and I definitely have learned a lot more on it than many of the other sources on YouTube. And in this video, I'm going to tell you, if you do a ketogenic diet, how exactly it's going to make bodybuilding and building muscle much more possible, even while you're on the diet, and more specifically after you're done a ketogenic diet. So, when you think of a ketogenic diet, you'll definitely think of fat loss. If you don't know what a ketogenic diet is, it's the low carb diet. So that is the keto state called ketosis. And, you might associate this with people with diabetes or things like that, but it really is a healthy state to be in, and it's the natural human metabolism, especially because we wouldn't have access to large fields of crops, grains, and, fruits and things like that would only be available half of the year, depending on which part of the world you come from. But the reason why keto is going to reset your bodybuilding potential is this. So if you started off with any sort of muscle building goal and you're trying to, add on some size, if you are a heavier person, if you're a more fat person, your insulin sensitivity is going to be lower. So insulin sensitivity is exactly what it sounds, how sensitive you are to insulin. So insulin gets released when you start eating carbohydrates, and in general when you eat any foods, but carbohydrates raise insulin way more than any other food, and especially if they're more processed, if they're lower in fiber. So when you think of growing, you probably think of, okay, I need enough carbs and I need enough proteins. And one way that people will often explain this to you is protein is kind of like the bricks and carbohydrates are kind of like the bricklayers. That's kind of one analogy, but in reality, it's more so like protein is like the bricks and insulin is kind of like the bricklayers. Insulin are the laborers who are actually transporting nutrients into your body. And that distinction is pretty key here. You might even want to write that down. But the reason why keto is going to reset your bodybuilding potential is because if you are skinny fat, or if you're fatter in general, and you're not the epitome of leanness and a Spartan god, basically, chances are your insulin sensitivity isn't as optimal, and you want to be more insulin sensitive. If you are fatter, you are more insulin resistant, and basically when you're more insulin resistant, what happens is your body isn't as good at using insulin, and it has to produce more of it, and this causes you to get fatter. So basically, the more fat you are, the more likely it is you're going to get fat, and the leaner you are, the less likely it is you're going to get fat. So this is mainly due to insulin sensitivity. And when we think of insulin in a muscle building context, it is one of the requirements, and it's one of the things that's capable of stimulating the muscle building pathways in your body. So one of the muscle building pathways is called mTOR, and basically insulin is capable of stimulating that, and so is leucine. Leucine is a protein, it's an amino acid that is basically a type of protein. And both those things are capable of stimulating the muscle growth response. So when you're on a ketogenic diet, this is really going to reset your insulin sensitivity. When you think about cutting out all carbohydrates altogether, because that's what a ketogenic diet is, it makes sense that your sensitivity to byproducts of consuming carbohydrates is going to increase. So that is a scientific fact, that's common knowledge in nutrition, but that is just something that's key here, is that cutting out all carbohydrates is going to reset your sensitivity to things like insulin. It also resets your sensitivity to things like other hunger hormones like leptin, but for bodybuilding goals, insulin is the one you need to think about here. So when you reduce your sensitivity, your resistance to insulin, and you increase your sensitivity to insulin, this basically means that you're going to be getting more bang for your buck when it comes to flushing nutrients into your body. And this also applies to muscle growth. So not only does it mean you're going to be less likely to store fat, because insulin is also the fat storage hormone. When you have too much of it, it's going to make you store fat, and that is why the people who are fatter get more fat, because they're more resistant. Their body has to produce more insulin to shuttle the nutrients into itself, and basically more insulin equals more fat. it's actually impossible to burn fat if you have a spike in insulin. So insulin shuts off fat burning, and it is more conducive to muscle building and also fat building, if that's what you want to call it. So with regards to resetting your bodybuilding potential, even just resetting your insulin sensitivity is going to make your body more efficient at building muscle because of its effect on mTOR, which is a muscle building pathway, and its effect on how your body uses insulin. So insulin is key to building muscle, however carbohydrates are not. So you don't need to consume large amounts of carbohydrates to grow, you just need an energy surplus. So this is, a surplus of calories. So it doesn't matter where the calories are coming from, as long as you're having an adequate training stimulus and adequate energy and adequate protein, your body's going to have enough bricks and enough brick layers to distribute this into replenishing and repairing your muscles, which you have presumably just broken down through training. So in addition to making it more likely for you to build muscle in a lean way, this is also possible on a fat-adapted ketogenic diet. So a fat-adapted keto diet is basically when you do keto for longer than a month. So when you do keto for longer than a month, your body is going to enter fat adaption. This is basically where it's very capable of using fat at all times in the day, and you're going to start storing carbohydrates in your muscles, even though you're not eating them. It's going to get those carbs from any of the vegetables you're eating or from excess protein. So if you're eating too much protein, it's not going to make you add fat, but it is going to start storing those proteins in your muscles. And that's actually good because it means that you're going to have basically fat available at all times of the day to burn for energy. And then when you're doing your heaviest lifts, your body's going to start using those stored carbs so that you have good strength. And your strength can actually increase on a fat-adapted keto diet even when you're trying to lose fat. And that's how I actually do all my dieting for fat loss. So with regards to muscle building in this phase, even though you're having lower energy overall being consumed, if you're restricting your calories, your body has access to thousands and thousands of calories stored as fat on itself. Even if you're 4% body fat, your body can still pull from fat, albeit a lot slower, and you would be very tired because 4% body fat is ridiculous. But on a fat-adapted keto diet, you can build muscle at the same time you are losing fat. And this is going to be, requiring you to hit higher strength goals. But even with, if it's possible, even with low calories, it's possible with more than adequate calories. And this is how all of our ancestors would build muscle. Obviously, there would be some use of carbohydrate. However, it was nowhere near the levels that we would have today because now we have mass production of carbs, fruits available even when they're not in season. And overall, it's more so about the insulin and the protein in the training that's going to fuel your growth. Doing a ketogenic diet is going to reduce that insulin resistance and increase that insulin sensitivity and make things way easier for you. It's going to make you less hungry when you start trying to cut down after a bulk, and less likely to burn your muscle, and less likely to store more fat. So overall, just because of the effects on insulin, this is going to reset your bodybuilding potential. It's going to make it more easy for you to get leaner in the future and more likely for you to add lean muscle because of the effects of insulin as a fat storage hormone. So this is just the side of insulin. With things here, I do have other videos on building muscle on keto, building muscle on fat loss keto, targeted keto diets. There's many ways to use a keto diet to build muscle and stay lean. It's ultimately my preferred way to do it, and I've been doing it for 7 years now. So I'm totally ready to answer any questions you have. Shoot me a DM on Instagram, leave me a comment. But overall, I'm just gonna keep putting these videos up for yourself and other people like you. And overall, if you learn something, I'd love to, have you as a subscriber, like my videos, and click that little notification bell. So thank you for watching. My name is Anthony Romano. Peace.